My name is Cora, and I just turned 28 years old. On that birthday, my parents handed me a single-dollar bill while my younger sister drove away in a brand new car. They laughed when they saw the disappointment on my face. But here's the thing nobody expected. Just a few hours later, those same parents who mocked me were standing outside my apartment door, begging for my help. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe if you have not already. Trust me, you will want to hear how this story ends. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can understand how I got here. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, in a house that looked perfect from the outside. My father, Gerald, was 58 years old and ran a small construction company that he had built from the ground up. He was the kind of man who believed his word was law, and everyone in the family knew better than to challenge him. My mother, Patricia, was 55 and had spent her entire adult life as a homemaker. She depended on my father for everything, from the money in her wallet to the opinions in her head. Whatever Gerald said, Patricia agreed with. It was just how things worked in our house. Then there was my younger sister, Brooke. She was 24, exactly 4 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she became the center of our parents' universe. Brooke had lighter hair, bigger eyes, and a way of crying that made our mother rush to her side immediately. I learned early that my needs would always come second to hers. My role in the family was established when I was just 12 years old. My mother got sick that year, some kind of infection that kept her in bed for almost 3 months. During that time, I became the one who cooked dinner, cleaned the house, helped Brooke with her homework, and made sure everything ran smoothly. My father never thanked me. He just expected it. And when my mother recovered, she went right back to focusing on Brooke, while I faded into the background. I was always told to be the responsible one, the one who set a good example, the one who did not complain. So I did not. I studied hard, got straight A's, and earned a full scholarship to college. I did not ask my parents for a single dollar. Not for tuition, not for books, not for rent. I worked part-time jobs throughout my 4 years at university, and I graduated with a degree in accounting, without owing anyone anything. After graduation, I landed a job at a respected financial firm in the city. I worked my way up over 5 years until I became a senior accountant. 2 years ago, I saved enough money to buy my own apartment. It was small, just 1 bedroom with a tiny kitchen, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every decoration on the walls, I paid for with money I earned myself. Meanwhile, Brooke lived a completely different life. When she turned 18, my parents bought her a car. Not a used one, a brand new sedan that cost more than I made in 6 months at my first job. While I took the bus to college every single day, Brooke drove her shiny new car to parties and shopping malls. When Brooke moved out, my parents paid her rent. Every month, without fail, they transferred money to her account so she would not have to worry about anything. Every birthday Brooke had was a celebration. There were parties with catered food, expensive gifts wrapped in beautiful paper, and my parents beaming with pride as they watched her open present after present. My birthdays were different. Sometimes they forgot altogether. Other times, they would hand me a card with $20 inside and tell me to treat myself to something nice. There was never a party, never a fuss, never any indication that my existence mattered as much as hers. I tried to talk to my parents about it over the years. I remember sitting at the kitchen table when I was 23, asking my mother why things were so different for me and Brooke. She had looked at me with confusion in her eyes and said, "Brooke is younger, Cora. She needs more support. You have always been so independent." I did not know how to explain that my independence was not a choice. It was survival. 3 years ago, my father asked me to help him with the company's books. His regular bookkeeper had quit, and he was in a bind. I agreed, thinking it might bring us closer. I spent weekends going through his financial records, fixing errors, organizing receipts, making sure everything was in order for tax season. I did this for free, month after month, year after year. My father never offered to pay me. He never even said thank you. He just expected me to do it, because I was his daughter, and I was good with numbers. What he did not know was how much I actually did for him. When I first looked at his books, they were a disaster. There were expenses that had not been recorded properly, income that had been categorized wrong, and tax filings that could have gotten him in serious trouble with the IRS. I fixed all of it quietly, never telling him how close he had come to being audited. I thought maybe, if I proved my value, he would finally see me the way he saw Brooke. The week before my 28th birthday, I got promoted at work. I was now the lead accountant for our biggest client, and my salary increased by 15%. I was proud of myself, and for once, I wanted to celebrate with my family. I sent a text to the family group chat, mentioning that my birthday was coming up, and asking if we could have dinner together at my parents' house. My mother responded with a thumbs up emoji, and said she would make my favorite meal. I let myself hope. Maybe this year would be different. Maybe they had finally noticed that I had built a successful life without their help. Maybe they would acknowledge that I was worth celebrating too. I bought a new dress for the occasion, something simple but elegant, and I practiced smiling in the mirror so I would look happy when I walked through their door. The night before my birthday, I went to bed feeling something I had not felt in years. Anticipation, excitement, hope. I should have known better. I woke up on my birthday to sunlight streaming through my bedroom window. The first thing I did was reach for my phone, eager to see the messages that must have come in overnight. My screen lit up with notifications, and my heart lifted. But as I scrolled through them, I realized none of them were from my family. My coworkers had sent cheerful birthday wishes. My college roommate had texted a long, heartfelt message. My friend Meredith had sent a funny meme about getting older. But from my parents, from Brooke, it was nothing. Not a single word. I told myself it did not matter. They were probably planning something special for tonight. They would wish me happy birthday in person, with hugs and smiles and maybe even a cake. I got ready for work with that thought comforting me, and I spent the day accepting congratulations from colleagues and eating the cupcakes my team had surprised me with during lunch. After work, I drove to my parents' house. On the way, I stopped at a bakery and picked up a small birthday cake. I told myself it was just in case my mother had been too busy to bake one. I did not want the evening to feel incomplete. As I turned onto my parents' street, I noticed something strange. There was a car parked in their driveway that I did not recognize. A brand new Honda Accord, silver and gleaming, with a huge red bow tied around it. My breath caught in my throat. For one wild, hopeful moment, I thought maybe my parents had finally decided to do something special for me. Maybe this was my birthday surprise. Maybe they had bought me a car to celebrate my promotion and my independence and all the years I had taken care of myself without asking for anything. My hands were shaking as I parked on the street and walked toward the house, still carrying the cake I had bought. The front door was unlocked, so I let myself in. The sound of laughter hit me immediately, high-pitched and excited, coming from the living room. I followed the noise and found my entire family gathered around Brooke. My father was holding out a set of car keys, his face bright with pride. My mother had her phone raised, recording the moment like it was the most important thing in the world. And Brooke was jumping up and down, squealing with joy, her arms wrapped around both of them. I stood in the doorway, frozen, the cake box growing heavy in my hands. Nobody noticed me. They were too busy celebrating my sister. Finally, my father handed Brooke the keys, and she ran outside to see her new car up close. My mother followed, still recording, and my father went after them both, laughing at something Brooke had said. I was left alone in the living room, holding a birthday cake for a birthday nobody seemed to remember. It took several minutes before they came back inside. When my mother finally saw me standing there, she did not rush over to hug me or wish me happy birthday. She just said, "Oh, Cora, you made it. Put the cake on the kitchen table, will you?" And then she went back to fussing over Brooke, adjusting her hair and telling her how beautiful she looked standing next to her new car. Dinner that night was supposed to be my birthday celebration, but nobody mentioned my birthday at all. The conversation revolved entirely around Brooke's car. My father explained that he had bought it to celebrate her college graduation, even though she had graduated 6 months ago. It cost about $35,000, he announced proudly, as if the price tag made it even more impressive. Brooke talked about all the places she was going to drive, all the trips she was going to take, all the friends who would be jealous when they saw her new wheels. I sat at the table, eating my mother's pot roast, waiting for someone to acknowledge why we were really gathered here. But the acknowledgement never came. When I tried to join the conversation, my words seemed to disappear into the air. When I mentioned my promotion at work, my father nodded absently and then asked Brooke what color she wanted for her custom license plate. After dinner, I watched my mother clear the plates while I waited. Surely now, I thought, surely now they would bring out a gift, sing happy birthday, do something to recognize that this day was supposed to be about me. And finally, my mother did reach into a cabinet and pull out a small envelope. "Here," she said, handing it to me. "This is for you. Happy birthday." I took the envelope with trembling fingers. It was light, almost weightless. I opened it carefully, hoping to find maybe a gift card, or a heartfelt letter, or something that showed they had thought about me at all. Inside, I found a single dollar bill and a scrap of paper with 4 words written in my mother's handwriting. "Happy birthday. Buy yourself something nice." I stared at that dollar bill for what felt like an eternity. My brain could not process what I was seeing. This had to be a joke. There had to be a real present waiting somewhere, hidden in a closet or out in the garage. I looked up at my parents, waiting for them to laugh and reveal the surprise. But my father just shrugged and said, "You are an accountant, Cora. You make plenty of money. Brooke is different. She needs our support." Brooke, who was sitting across from me, did not even try to hide her smirk. $1 can buy a candy bar," she said. "You should be grateful you got anything at all." I felt something crack inside my chest. 28 years of being overlooked, dismissed, and forgotten. 28 years of watching my sister get everything while I got nothing. And now this, a single dollar bill on my birthday, while Brooke sat next to a $35,000 car. I forced myself to stay calm. My voice was steady when I asked, "Is this really my birthday present?" My mother waved her hand like I was being dramatic. "Do not make this into a big thing, Cora. You are an adult now. Adults do not need birthday presents." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the dollar bill in their faces and demand to know why I had never been enough for them. But I had spent my whole life keeping my emotions inside, so I did what I always did. I swallowed the pain and stayed silent. The silence did not last long. Something inside me had shifted, and I found myself unable to keep quiet the way I always had before. I looked at my father, then at my mother, then at the single dollar bill still clutched in my hand, and I made a decision. I was going to say what I had been holding inside for years. "I have been helping you with the company's books for 3 years, I said, my voice low but steady. "I have never asked for payment. I have never complained. I fixed mistakes that could have gotten you audited. I spent my weekends organizing your finances while you never even noticed. And this is how you treat me?" My father's face changed immediately. The proud smile he had been wearing all evening disappeared, replaced by something harder. His jaw tightened, and when he spoke, his voice had an edge to it that I knew well. "How dare you speak to me that way? I raised you. I gave you everything you needed. A roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back. And now you have the nerve to demand more?" I did not back down. "I paid my own way through college with scholarships," I reminded him. "I bought my own apartment without asking you for a single penny. I have been independent since the day I turned 18. All I wanted was to feel like I mattered to this family, and you gave me $1 while Brooke got a car." My father slammed his hand on the table, making the dishes rattle. "Stop comparing yourself to your sister. Brooke is different. She needs us." Then my mother decided to add her thoughts. "Cora, You have always been jealous of Brooke. Even when you were children, you resented her. She is prettier than you, sweeter than you, and people naturally want to take care of her. You were always so stubborn, so hard to love. You pushed everyone away with your coldness. The words hit me like physical blows. Prettier, sweeter, hard to love. My own mother, looking me in the eyes, telling me that my sister was easier to love than I was. I pushed everyone away, I repeated slowly, because I had to take care of myself, because no one else was going to do it. My mother shook her head, as if I was missing the obvious point. That is exactly what I mean. You have always been so independent, so capable. You did not need us the way Brooke does. Brooke, who had been watching this exchange with poorly hidden enjoyment, decided it was her turn to speak. You know what your problem is, Cora? You think the world owes you something. $1 is still money. Most people would be happy to get anything at all. You are so ungrateful. I looked at my little sister, this person I had helped raise when our mother was sick, and I saw a stranger, someone who had never had to work for anything, who had been handed everything she ever wanted, who genuinely believed she deserved special treatment simply because she existed. I turned back to my parents. One question had been burning in my mind for as long as I could remember, and I finally let myself ask it out loud. Have you ever loved me the way you love Brooke? The room went completely silent. My father would not meet my eyes. My mother stared at the tablecloth as if it held the answer to a difficult math problem. Neither of them said a word. My father finally spoke, but he did not answer my question. He talked around it instead. You are our daughter, Cora. We raised you. We did our duty. But you have always been the older child, and older children have to sacrifice for their younger siblings. That is just how families work. That was all the answer I needed. 28 years of wondering, and now I knew the truth. I was not their beloved daughter. I was their obligation, their duty, the child who existed to clear the path for the one they actually wanted. I stood up from the table slowly, my legs feeling strangely steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. I placed the dollar bill on the table in front of my father. Keep it, I said. You clearly need it more than I do. My father's face turned red with anger. You ungrateful child, he shouted. After everything we have done for you, you dare to disrespect us like this? I did not yell back. I did not cry. I simply walked toward the front door, my footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Behind me, I heard Brooke's voice, smug and satisfied. Let her go. She always has to make everything about herself. So dramatic. I did not turn around. I did not say goodbye. I just walked out the door, got in my car, and drove away from the house where I had never truly belonged. The drive back to my apartment felt like it took hours, though it was only 20 minutes. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The tears I had been holding back finally started to fall, blurring the road in front of me. But I did not pull over. I just kept driving, letting the pain wash over me in waves. When I finally got home, I did not bother turning on the lights. I just closed the door behind me and slid down to the floor, my back against the wall, and I cried harder than I had cried since I was a little girl. All those years of pretending it did not hurt, of telling myself that I did not need their approval, of building a life that proved I could survive without them. It all came crashing down in that moment, and I felt every single wound that had ever been inflicted on me by the people who were supposed to love me most. I do not know how long I sat there in the dark. Eventually, my phone rang, cutting through the silence. I looked at the screen and saw Meredith's name. She was my best friend from college, the person who had been there for me through every struggle, and hearing her voice was exactly what I needed. "Happy birthday, beautiful," she said when I answered. "Are you okay? You sound strange. I told her everything. The car, the dollar bill, the conversation, the look on my mother's face when she told me I was hard to love. Meredith listened without interrupting, and when I was finished, she let out a long breath. Cora, she said slowly, I want you to really hear what I am about to say. You have spent 3 years doing your father's accounting for free. You have saved his company more times than he will ever know. Without you, that business would have collapsed under its own financial mismanagement. Do you understand how much power you actually have here? I had not thought about it that way. I had been so focused on the emotional betrayal that I had forgotten the practical reality of the situation. My father needed me. He just did not realize it yet. Meredith continued, You are the only thing standing between Gerald and a potential audit disaster. The IRS does not care about family dynamics. They care about accurate records. And you are the one who made his records accurate. After we hung up, I sat down at my laptop and opened the folder where I kept all my work on my father's company. I scrolled through 3 years of spreadsheets, tax filings, corrected invoices, and reconciled accounts. The more I looked, the more I realized how much I had actually done. Before I started helping, my father's bookkeeping had been chaos. There were expenses claimed in the wrong categories, income that had not been reported properly, and several filings that could have triggered a federal investigation. I had fixed all of it. Quietly, without fanfare, without expecting anything in return. And now, as I looked at the calendar on my computer, I remembered something important. My father had a major audit scheduled with a government contractor in 3 days. If he could not produce clean, organized financial records, he would lose the contract. And without me, he had no way to prepare those records on his own. I thought about what Meredith had said. I thought about the dollar bill still sitting on my parents' table. I thought about 28 years of being treated like I was less than nothing. And I made a decision. I opened my email and composed a short message to my father. It read simply, I will no longer be providing free accounting services for your company. I recommend you hire a professional immediately. Good luck. I hit send before I could second guess myself. Then I turned off my phone, changed into comfortable clothes, and walked to the little bakery around the corner from my apartment. I bought myself a cupcake with buttercream frosting and a single candle. Back home, I lit the candle, watched the flame flicker in the darkness of my kitchen, and made a wish. I wish that I will always put myself first from now on. I blew out the candle and took a bite of the cupcake. It tasted like freedom. The next morning, my father woke up to find my email waiting in his inbox. I know this because I received 17 missed calls from him before noon. He left voicemails that started confused and became increasingly frantic as the hours passed. Cora, what is this about? Call me back. Then, Cora, this is not funny. I need those files. And finally, Cora, you are being completely unreasonable. We can talk about this. I listened to each voicemail, but did not respond. I went to work, had lunch with a colleague, attended meetings, and lived my life as if nothing unusual was happening. Meanwhile, 200 miles away, my father's world was starting to fall apart. The audit came earlier than expected. A team of inspectors arrived at my father's construction company just before noon, requesting access to 3 years of financial records. My father called his part-time bookkeeper, a young woman named Stacy, who had been hired mainly to answer phones and file paperwork. When the inspectors started asking detailed questions about expense categorizations and tax depreciation schedules, Stacy looked at them like they were speaking a foreign language. My father tried to explain, tried to point them to the organized files he assumed were somewhere in his office. But without me there to guide him, he could not find anything. The spreadsheets I had created were on my personal laptop. The corrected filings were in my cloud storage. All the documentation that proved his company was operating legally and properly was completely inaccessible to him. The inspectors found problems almost immediately. Looking at the original records, the ones from before I had started helping, they discovered discrepancies that raised serious red flags. Misreported income from 2 years ago. Suspicious expense claims that had never been properly documented. The kind of errors that could result in fines of $50,000 or more, plus potential criminal charges if they suspected intentional fraud. My father called me again, his voice different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like fear. Cora, please. I did not understand how much you were doing for me. I need those corrected files. I need you to explain to these people what happened. Please, I am begging you. I read his text message. I did not respond. That afternoon, things got even worse for my family. Brooke, celebrating her new car, decided to take it for a joyride with her friends. They went to get coffee, then to the mall, then to take pictures at a scenic overlook outside of town. On the way back, Brooke was trying to take a selfie with one hand while steering with the other. She did not see the sharp curve in the road until it was too late. The car jumped the curb and slammed into a concrete light pole. Brooke was not seriously hurt, just shaken up and bruised, but the car was destroyed. The front end was completely crushed, the airbags had deployed, and the mechanic who towed it away said repairs would cost at least $15,000. Brooke called our parents, sobbing, demanding that they fix this, that they buy her a new car, that they make everything okay the way they always did. But our parents were not in a position to fix anything. My father was facing potential bankruptcy if the audit went badly. My mother was having a breakdown in the kitchen, screaming at my father about how he had let everything fall apart. And Brooke was standing in a tow yard, crying over her ruined car, unable to comprehend that for the first time in her life, there would be no one rushing to make her problems disappear. My mother called me that evening, her tone completely different from the night before. Gone was the coldness, the dismissiveness, the subtle cruelty. Now she sounded desperate. Cora, I know we had a difficult conversation yesterday, but your father needs you. The company is in trouble. We could lose everything. Please, just come home and help us figure this out. I let her talk. When she finished, I asked a simple question. Are you apologizing for what you said to me? Or are you apologizing because you need something from me? She did not answer. The silence told me everything. I hung up the phone. That evening, as the sun was setting outside my apartment window, I heard a knock at my door. Then another knock, louder this time. Then the sound of voices, muffled and urgent, coming from the hallway. I looked through the peephole and saw all three of them standing there. My father, his face pale and drawn, looking older than I had ever seen him. My mother, wringing her hands, mascara smeared from crying. And Brooke, still wearing the same clothes she had been in when she crashed her car, her expression a mixture of anger and desperation. I opened the door and stood in the doorway, blocking the entrance. I did not invite them in. Cora, my father said, his voice breaking slightly. Please, I know I have not been the father you deserved. I know I have made mistakes. But right now, I need your help. Without those documents, without your expertise, I could be facing fines that will destroy everything I have built. I could go to prison, Cora. Do you understand? I looked at him calmly. I understand perfectly. I also understand that for 28 years, you have treated me like I was less important than everyone else in this family. You gave me $1 for my birthday, while you bought Brooke a car worth $35,000. You have never once acknowledged everything I have done for you. My mother stepped forward, her hands clasped in front of her like she was praying. Cora, sweetheart, I know I said some hurtful things yesterday. I did not mean them. You know how I get when I am stressed. Please, just forget about all of that and help your father. I asked her directly, did you mean what you said about Brooke being easier to love than me? Patricia's face flickered with something that might have been guilt, but she did not answer the question. She just repeated, please, Cora, we need you. Even Brooke tried to contribute to the begging. She stepped forward with tears streaming down her face, looking younger than her 24 years. "I am sorry I was mean to you, Cora. I know I can be bratty sometimes. But my car is totaled, and Mom and Dad do not have the money to fix it because of this audit thing." "You are smart. You can fix everything. Please?" I looked at my little sister, remembering all the times I had helped her when we were kids. All the homework I had finished for her. All the messes I had cleaned up. All the sacrifices I had made so she could have an easier life. And I remembered what she had said just yesterday, that I was ungrateful and dramatic for being hurt by a $1 birthday present. "Brooke," I said quietly, "do you remember what you told me last night? You said $1 should be enough. You said I was making everything about myself. Do you really think an apology now, when you need something from me, erases all of that?" She did not have an answer. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I would help them, but I would not be their doormat anymore. Never again. "I will help you with the audit," I said to my father, "but I have conditions." He looked at me with desperate hope. "Anything. Name it." "First, you will sign a contract agreeing to pay me a fair market rate for all accounting services going forward. I charge $150 per hour. You will be billed monthly like any other client." My father's face twitched, clearly uncomfortable with the idea of paying his daughter for work she had been doing for free. But he nodded. "Second," I said, looking at my mother, "you will write me a letter of apology. A real one. Acknowledging specifically what you said to me and explaining why it was wrong. I do not need you to mean it right now, but I need you to write it." Patricia's mouth opened and closed, but eventually she whispered, "Fine." "Third," I said, turning to Brooke, "you will not receive a single dollar from Mom and Dad to fix your car. You wrecked it because you were being careless and irresponsible. You will get a job and you will pay for the repairs yourself. If you cannot afford to fix it, you will take the bus like I did for 4 years." "That is not fair," Brooke protested immediately. "It was an accident." "Life is not fair," I replied. "You are 24 years old. It is time you learned that." The three of them stood there in my hallway, processing what I had said. I could see the struggle on my father's face, the humiliation of having to agree to his eldest daughter's terms. I could see my mother's resentment simmering beneath her desperate expression. I could see Brooke's shock at being told no for possibly the first time in her entire life. "I am not asking to be loved," I said finally. "I gave up on that a long time ago. But I am demanding to be respected. If you cannot do that, then you can figure out this mess on your own." There was a long pause. Then my father said quietly, "We agree to your terms." "Good," I said. "Have the contract ready by tomorrow morning. Bring it to my attorney's office. Once everything is signed and official, I will send you the documents you need." I started to close the door, then paused. "One more thing," I added. "You can all leave now. I have had a very long birthday, and I would like to spend the rest of it alone." I closed the door on their stunned faces and stood there in the silence of my apartment. For the first time in my relationship with my family, I had set the terms. I had demanded what I was worth, and they had agreed. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel happy, but I felt something I had not felt in a very long time. I felt free. The days and weeks that followed were difficult, but they were also transformative. My father came to my attorney's office the next morning with a contract already drawn up. He had clearly had his own lawyer review it, and they had tried to negotiate my hourly rate down, but I held firm. $150 per hour, I said, or I walk away and you face the auditors alone. He signed the contract without further argument. I spent the next week working on his case, organizing the documents, explaining the discrepancies to the inspectors, and demonstrating that the errors were the result of incompetence rather than fraud. Thanks to all the corrections I had made over the years, I was able to show that the company had been operating properly since I got involved. The inspectors ultimately issued a fine of only $7,000, a fraction of what it could have been if I had not intervened. My father did not thank me directly, but he did pay my invoice on time. It was the first money I had ever received from him since I turned 18. Somehow, getting paid for my work felt more meaningful than any gift could have been. My mother sent me a letter of apology, handwritten on her personal stationery. It was short, only 1 page, and I could tell she had struggled with every word. She acknowledged that she had compared me unfavorably to Brooke, that she had said I was hard to love, and that these statements were hurtful and inappropriate. She did not exactly say she was wrong, but she admitted that she had caused me pain. It was not the heartfelt apology I had once dreamed of receiving, but it was something. I accepted it and filed it away in a drawer I rarely opened. Brooke, predictably, had the hardest time adjusting to the new reality. Without our parents' money to fall back on, she had to find a job for the first time in her life. She ended up working at a boutique clothing store, earning minimum wage plus commission, coming home every night with aching feet and complaints about how unfair everything was. The car sat in a repair shop for 3 months before she saved enough for the down payment on the repairs. When she finally got it back, she drove much more carefully. As for me, I started to focus on healing. I found a therapist who specialized in family trauma, and I began unpacking 28 years of feeling invisible and unloved. Some sessions were harder than others. Some days I cried so much I could barely drive home afterward. But slowly, painfully, I started to understand that my parents' inability to love me properly was not a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of their limitations. I also found community. Through an online support group, I connected with other people who had grown up as the unfavored child in their families. We shared our stories, offered each other advice, and reminded each other that we were not alone. For the first time, I realized how many people had experienced exactly what I had experienced. There was comfort in knowing I was not the only one. My career continued to thrive. 6 months after my birthday disaster, I was promoted again, this time to partner track. My salary increased, my responsibilities grew, and I found myself mentoring younger accountants who reminded me of myself at their age. I tried to be the kind of leader I had always wished I had, someone who noticed hard work and rewarded dedication. I also started dating. His name was Marcus, and I met him at a coffee shop near my apartment. He was a high school English teacher, kind and thoughtful and patient, with a laugh that made me feel warm inside. On our 3rd date, I told him about my family, about the dollar bill, about everything. He listened without judgment, and then said something I will never forget. "You deserved better, Cora, and the fact that you did not get it does not mean you will not get it in the future." For the first time, I let myself believe that might be true. 1 year after my 28th birthday, I turned 29. This time, I did not go to my parents' house. I did not wait for them to remember me. Instead, I threw my own party in my little apartment, filling it with friends who genuinely loved me. Meredith came, and so did several colleagues from work. And Marcus was there too, helping me hang decorations and pour drinks. At one point during the party, Meredith pulled me aside and handed me a wrapped gift. I opened it to find a simple picture frame with 3 words printed in elegant script. "You are enough." I hung it on my wall that same night, right next to another frame. In that second frame was the dollar bill my parents had given me, pressed flat behind glass like a museum exhibit. I kept it not as a reminder of the pain they had caused me, but as a reminder of the night I finally chose myself. The night I stopped waiting for them to see my value and started seeing it on my own. As I stood looking at those 2 frames, I thought about everything I had learned in the past year. I thought about how love cannot be forced or demanded or earned through sacrifice. I thought about how respect, unlike love, can be insisted upon, and how setting boundaries is not an act of cruelty, but an act of self-preservation. I thought about how the people who are supposed to take care of us sometimes fail, and how that failure does not have to define us forever. I do not hate my parents anymore. I understand them now, at least a little bit. My father grew up poor and equated money with love, spending lavishly on Brooke because it was the only way he knew how to show affection. My mother was raised to believe that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and since I never squeaked, she assumed I did not need oiling. They were wrong, but they were also human, flawed and limited, and doing the best they could with the tools they had. I still see them sometimes. Family dinners on holidays, brief phone calls on birthdays. Our relationship is not warm, but it is no longer painful. I have accepted that they will never love me the way I once wanted them to, and that acceptance has set me free. I do not need their approval anymore. I have my own. To anyone watching this who grew up feeling invisible in your own family, I want you to know something. You are not required to keep setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are allowed to walk away from relationships that hurt you, even if those relationships are with your own parents or siblings. You are allowed to demand respect, to set boundaries, to put yourself first, and you are absolutely, unquestionably worthy of love, even if the people who were supposed to love you first never figured out how. That dollar bill hanging on my wall is worth more than the $35,000 car my sister crashed, because that dollar bill taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. No one can determine your worth except you. And once you truly understand that, no amount of money, no car, no gift can ever make you feel small again. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched something inside you, I hope you will share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to stand up to your own family? How did it change you? Hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and subscribe so you do not miss more stories like this one. Share this video with anyone who might be struggling with their own family dynamics. I wish you peace. I wish you healing. And most of all, I wish you the courage to know your own worth, no matter what anyone else says. Until next time.